Today on Rappler, more ties that bind. Exclusive on Rappler, find out how the family of pork barrel queen Janet Napoles is connected to the family of Senator Bong Revilla. Talks on greater U.S. access to Philippine military bases kick off. And the eurozone climbs out of recession with better than expected growth. Hello, I'm Maria Ressa. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. Janet Lim Napoles, the alleged mastermind behind the multi-million peso pork barrel scam, is ordered arrested in connection with the kidnapping of whistleblower Ben-Hur Luy. Justice Secretary Laila de Lima says a Makati court issued the warrants of arrest against Napoles and her brother, Reynald Lim, for serious illegal detention. Luy says the two detained him for months when they found out he wanted to set up his own operations based on Napoles' scheme. Napoles and Luy are cousins. Luy said he was Napoles' longtime employee. De Lima says the case is non-bailable. A Rappler exclusive. Documents show the eldest son of Senator Bong Revilla is a partner of the son of alleged pork barrel queen Janet Lim Napoles. It also shows the extent of Napoles' alliance with at least one senator, something she has tried hard to downplay at the start of this controversy. A search with the Securities and Exchange Commission shows Leonard Brian Bautista co-owns a business with Napoles' son, James Christopher Napoles, and her nephew, Ronald Lim Jr. The company, PB&J Corporation, was incorporated on January 1, 2011, or 6 months after Revilla was re-elected senator. The SEC registration shows the company is engaged in, quote, wholesale and trade. Its office is at the Mezzanine Cavite Coliseum, which is within the commercial complex owned by the Revilla family in Bacoor, Cavite. Scam whistleblower Ben-Hur Luy says 1.017 billion peso of Senator Revilla's pork barrel from 2006 to 2011 went to non-governmental organizations Napoles formed. Rappler checked state audit reports for 2007 to 2011 on the government-owned National Agribusiness Corporation, one of the agencies tagged in the scam. The Commission on Audit found questionable the release of 9.7 million pesos of Revilla's pork barrel to the St. James the Apostle Multipurpose Cooperative. The group, though, could not be immediately linked to Napoles because there are no SEC records of its creation. For the first time ever, former Marine Colonel Ariel Querubin talks to Rappler about a pyramid-like scheme alleged pork barrel queen Janet Napoles offered his wife. Querubin's wife died 19 years ago. A day before her death, he spoke to Janet Napoles to ask her to return his wife's investment. In a phone interview with Rappler, Querubin recalls saying, "I asked her, please, just return the money. That's the money of my wife and her sister." It was 1993, and Querubin was rebuilding his life after spending jail time for his involvement in the December 1989 coup against Cory Aquino. Querubin knew Janet and her husband Jaime, a captain in the Philippine Marines. After Querubin's release from jail, Janet persuaded his wife Loretta and a military doctor friend to invest in a supposed shipyard in Cebu. Napoles promised a 5% monthly interest payment. Mrs. Querubin took the risk, but by late 1993, the checks Napoles issued began bouncing and she was difficult to find. The couple soon found out that Mrs. Napoles apparently invested their money in a military wife who says she had been paying Mrs. Napoles the interest. A meeting was set on August 18, 1994 between the military wife, Mrs. Napoles, Mrs. Querubin, and her doctor friend. The doctor friend recalls, "Loretta manifested her disgust several times during the course of our conversation with the military wife." Loretta Querubin died the following day, August 19, 1994, of unexplained pulmonary hypertension. Querubin says it's tough to recall the events with his wife's death anniversary approaching. He says he's telling the story because it would be, quote, a disservice to the nation if he stayed silent. He adds, She just needs to prove how they were able to amass such wealth in such a short span of time. I knew her to be a struggling supplier. How did she grow rich? Will the Justice Department's probe on the pork barrel scam affect the confirmation of Justice Secretary Leila de Lima? De Lima was appointed Justice Secretary in 2010, but the Bicameral Commission on Appointments has yet to confirm her nomination. On Wednesday, Senate President Franklin Drilon says the probe on the scam won't affect de Lima's confirmation. Drilon says, "I'm confident that this will not affect the judgment of the members of the commission on the qualifications and competence of the nominees." The Senate President says he expects de Lima's nomination and the nominations of other cabinet secretaries to be addressed in September. The palace also dismisses concerns de Lima's probe will be affected by the fact that she has not been confirmed. Presidential spokesperson Edwin Lacerda says de Lima will, quote, "do her job regardless of who gets affected." The Philippines and U.S. panels hold the first round of talks on a new agreement that will allow increased presence of U.S. troops in the Philippines and boost maritime security. In June, the Philippines announced plans to give the U.S. wider access to Philippine military bases in the wake of tensions between the Philippines and China over territories in the South China Sea. Senate President Franklin Drilon and Speaker Sonny Belmonte support the plan as long as it won't violate the Constitution and the Visiting Forces Agreement. But some political activists oppose the talks, saying bringing the United States into the South China Sea conflict will complicate the dispute. Bayan Secretary General Renato Reyes adds, "The U.S. has huge debts to the Chinese government. How can we expect the U.S. to defend us when their economy is closely tied up to the economy of China?" Akbayan Representative Walden Bello calls the talks a, quote, "pact with the devil." He adds, "It's the height of irony that in our collective campaign to secure our sovereignty against China and other foreign aggressors, the very same sovereignty that we try to protect would be the first casualty." The toll from Typhoon Labuyo, international name Uter, rises to 7 with damage reaching 932 million pesos. Aurora and Quirino and the municipalities of Candelaria, Santa Cruz, and Masinloc in Zambales are all under a state of calamity. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council reports more than 40,000 families or 186,000 people are affected by the typhoon. The oil spill from a Petron pipeline continues to cripple the fishing industry in Cavite. Pia Ranyada reports.
In Barangay Wawa 1, Philippine Coast Guard divers are about to go underwater to find the source of the leak in the pipeline behind me. But while the investigation continues, the fishermen are eager to move on and return to their livelihood.
On August 8, 500,000 liters of diesel leaked into Manila Bay from a Petron pipeline. 4 days after, red oil slicks still stain the shoreline. Acrid fumes still invade the homes of fishermen.
Hindi makalaot dahil sa nangyari nga sa oil spill. At saka nagkaroon din ng bagyo. Hindi rin na makalaot. Apektado talaga kami dito.
The oil spill paralyzes Cavite's fishing industry. In Rosario's fishing depot, home of the famous Salinas Tinapa, buyers continue to snub fish from Cavite.
Dati mga 1.3, 1.2, ngayon naging 700 na lang, 600. Napaka masyadong malaking apekto na nakakaano rito sa ating mga export.
In the town's market, vendors are losing money with fish sales at bottom prices.
Baksak presyo na, nabebenta na namin 80 isang kilo. Siyempre, imbis na kami kumikita para pambili ng bigas, wala kami pambili kasi nga hindi yan nakakatubo, laging nalulugi.
They claim the fish is as good as ever.
Sariling huli namin, kinakain namin. Talagang walang apektado yan dito. Ngayon, hindi pa rin tumataas ang presyo ng isda, ganun pa rin. Kaya nakakaawa ng mga mangingisda.
Rosario Mayor Jose Rica Frente files a cease and desist order against the Petron Oil Depot.
Sabi ko sa Petron, covered ng order na yan, hindi nyo pwedeng gamitin na yung pipelines na yan, kahit na i-repair nyo, kahit paltan nyo yan.
Coast Guard divers have yet to find the leak. But the people of Cavite can't wait for things to go back to normal.
Balik ulit sa dati yan pag nawala na yung oil spill na yan. Pero siguro pagkatapos niya, maginawa na lang siguro.
Pia Ranyada, Rappler, Manila.
The eurozone climbs out of recession with better than expected growth of 0.3% in the second quarter. Analysts forecast a 0.2% increase for the 17-nation bloc. Data agency Eurostat says the 18-month downturn ends thanks to surprise gains of 0.7% in Germany and 0.5% in France. The eurozone debt crisis cost millions of jobs and crushed debt-laden governments. The Maids at Play hopes to force society to open its eyes about the gap between classes. Jitonji reports.
I'm here at the Mirror Studio Theater for the opening weekend of Jean Genet's The Maids, concept and direction by Anton Juan.
It's just the way of talking. Stop trying to dominate me.
First performed in 1947, director Anton Juan finds the material particularly relevant to Philippine society today. The Maids delves into the role reversal of characters, an allegory for the reversal of fortunes Filipinos know all too well.
We mimic our conquerors, we mimic our subjugators, so we end up being like them, and we're cruel to our own kin, to our own citizens. You know, yeah, and all that yeah culture, you know, yeah, bring me this, yeah, bring me that, you know. But it was this overseas workers who upheld our economy, you see? And that's the double irony of it, and yet we don't treat them well.
Theater actor Topper Fabregas says this is the kind of theater production that educates by holding up a mirror to high society.
And you know, if you see the play, you really see just the difference, and then the excess of this class. That's their only world, and they don't know anything beyond that. So
Juan and Fabregas play the lead roles of women characters, Solange and Claire. Interestingly, the role of the Madame rotates among the cast every night, giving a unique performance every show.
Surprisingly, it was a very generous process with all the Madames, and we each found our own groove.
The concept of having 10 Madames, supposedly for 10 shows, one thing that came into my mind was, what, I'm going to play it once, really? But thinking about the concept again, it's brilliant.
I was very scared to say yes. Yeah, but the process, I've learned so much from this production, from all the Madames who have helped me understand everything because I'm not really from theater.
Mirror Studio Theater founder Jay Glorioso says straight plays such as The Maids offer the audience a respite from the more commercial musical theater.
This is an opportunity to portray different works which are explorative, introspective, very sharp into issues of society, of class struggles, which are not usually portrayed in commercial venues where you usually...
The Maids delves into the depths of the class divide, a fantasy that gives power to the powerless through the ceremonial killing of the master. Anton Juan's take on Jean Genet's The Maids is a classic example of introspective theater. It makes one question their own concept of servitude. Don't miss this show. Jitonji, Rappler, Manila.
Swedish researchers say heavy drinking and drug use in teenage years may boost chances of developing dementia before the age of 65. In a study of more than 480,000 Swedish men conscripted for military service between 1969 and 1979, alcohol abuse emerges the strongest of 9 risk factors. In the 37 years following their conscription, 487 of the men are diagnosed with young-onset dementia at a median age of 54 years. Other risk factors include a stroke, drug use, depression, having a father with dementia, short stature, and high blood pressure. Scientists say there may be a scientific explanation for the vivid near-death experiences that some people report after surviving a heart attack. A study reports the brain keeps working for up to 30 seconds after blood flow stops. In an experiment, scientists subject lab rats to induced cardiac arrest. In the first 30 seconds after their hearts stop, the rats show a surge of brain activity. Scientists say this suggests the brain is capable of, quote, well-organized electrical activity during the early stage of clinical death. They add, this also provides the first scientific framework for the near-death experiences reported by cardiac arrest survivors. Let's now look at Rappler's Wrap for today, a list of the 10 most important events around the world you shouldn't miss. At number 2, Israel frees 26 Palestinian prisoners hours before the two sides hold new peace talks. 15 people cross into the Gaza Strip and are greeted by relatives as they got out of a bus next to the border. Another 11 prisoners arrive in the West Bank city of Ramallah. The 26 prisoners are the first batch of some 104 detainees who will be freed as part of a U.S. brokered deal which brought Israel and the Palestinians back to the negotiating table on July 30th for the first time in nearly 3 years. At number 5, tensions increase in Cairo as police move in on 2 protest camps in a crackdown on supporters of ousted Egypt President Mohamed Morsi. The Muslim Brotherhood says at least 200 protesters are killed. The violence comes after a government ultimatum to dismantle the protest camps ends. And at number 6, North Korea unveils what it says is a domestically produced smartphone. But industry analysts say the Arirang, built around Google's Android OS, is likely manufactured in neighboring China. The existence of the phone surfaces during a factory inspection by North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Some analysts suggest the Arirang phone is aimed at getting North Koreans to use an officially approved phone that can be properly monitored. For the full top 10, visit Rappler.com's The Wrap. Every story on Rappler has a mood meter which gives you 8 emotions to choose from. Click how you feel and your vote comes down to the mood navigator in the middle of the front page. That crowdsources the mood of the day. It also gives you the top 10 stories, the events, which have affected our readers emotionally the most. These 10 stories have gotten the most number of votes on their mood meters. If you take a look today, it is a red day. Probers to charge lawmakers, Cardinal weeps over scam, that's 84%. Angry, 5% afraid. More on, Janet Napoles, how Janet Lim Napoles got away, 88% angry. And the story that's been up for more than 24 hours, Janet Napoles and a tragic past. This is the story of former Marine Colonel Quiteles and how a scam, a pyramid scheme by Janet Napoles affected his wife and his family. 81% angry. It is a red day today. Most people are angry. Well, that is Rappler's Newscast for today, Wednesday, August 14th, 2013. Visit Rappler.com and watch our newscast Monday to Friday. Tell us how you feel on our mood meter and help us crowdsource the mood of the day. I'm Maria Ressa. As we say at Rappler, tomorrow begins today.